money laundering, financial crime. And I think last week we were able to look at some of the method used by launderers to beat detection, because we know that these money launderers, these those who commit financial crime, are very sophisticated. So they use online banking. We saw that last week. They also do what we call email compromise. Business email compromise. They use that. Even synthetic identity, they use that. And of course, anonymous online payment system. Then virtual currency. We're talking about the virtual currency, and when you say virtual currency, people will be thinking of cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin, but our own central bank, we've come out with our own, what do we call it again? E-Naira? Okay. And then some persons are saying it's just to keep the youth busy. Instead of them going into cryptocurrency, they should begin to look at E-Naira. Okay, so for virtual currencies, we've also seen that most of the money launderers, they also use virtual currencies. Okay, so today we'll be looking at some of the statistics and impact of this money laundering on the global economy. So let's now look at some statistics about money laundering that will, surprise all of us. Every year, an estimated amount in the range of, not in naira now, 800 billion US dollar to about 2 trillion US dollar. That is about 2 to 5% of global GDP is being laundered globally. And that is why international organizations like the Edmond Group, FATF, that is a Financial Action Task Force, and the European Union, they are all saying that before a particular country is on their list when it comes to money laundering, there are certain things you must put in place. And they must see that you are actually fighting money laundering. One of the conditions is NFIU, that is the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, must be independent and separate from EFCC, which is what we have done in Nigeria, and it shows that we're actually fighting money laundering. So we can see the amount globally, over 800 billion US dollar globally is being laundered. And again, people will ask themselves, before you launder this money, one person cannot launder money. So there are collaboration. So for us to actually fight this money laundering, because we are seeing that it is affecting the economy globally. Taking Nigeria for example now, people get illegal money and they bring it to the financial system. It will not encourage real entrepreneurship. People will become lazy. There will be no productivity because they will just get money cheaply, and it's going to affect the economy of the country. So, and that is why you see that once certain funds, wired funds, are coming from certain part of the world, then money laundering officers are expected to be watchful. They have called those places safe havens, where their fight against money laundering is still not too serious. Money laundering is not a predicate offense. There must have been an offense illegally. The next stage is keeping the money, which is the money laundering. So we have seen, for example, if somebody is going to wire money to me from certain part of Latin America, I have to be very careful, like Mexico, Colombia, because these are places that have been known for heavy drug activities. They can be laundering drug money, and of course other. So suspicious activity reports result in the annual barring of around 31% of laundered money. And that is why for us in the stockbroking profession, the capital market, you must make that report. If you suspect a transaction, a customer has come to you and is giving you cash that is slightly below the threshold, like they have said, we should not collect cash that is up to 50,000, and it comes on a Monday, it gives you 49,000 naira. On a Tuesday, it gives you 48,000 naira. On a Wednesday, it comes again, it gives you 49,500 naira. And all these transactions are related. Now, that is suspicious. As a trained anti-money laundering officer, you should raise the red flag and, make the necessary reports. So, suspicious activity report, suspicious transaction report has gone a long way in ensuring that most of this money that are being laundered, they are nipped at the bud. Another one concerning this suspicious transaction. Somebody comes to do a transaction with you and he bought maybe Nestle at 1,450 naira. And Nestle is doing what I say, sell, I'm not, just sell for me. You see that he is not really interested in that loss. There is no economic gain. But what is interested is ensuring that that money is moved around so that it becomes difficult for investigators to follow the money. Let me use that word, to follow the money. So all these are suspicious transactions, and you must take note. So according to some other global enforcement review, fines related to financial crimes such as money laundering, bribery, and sanctions total $4.67 billion in 2020 alone. 4.67 compared to $3.75 billion in 2019. So we can see an increase. Even in a pandemic year, we can see that the fines that are being paid. Now, Nigeria has our own Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011 as amended, which all the financial institutions, they are aware of their role, what they are expected to do in terms of cooperating with the regulators to ensure that money laundering activities are reported to the appropriate regulators so they don't continue. And it's also advisable that we train our workers, we train our staff so that they don't connive with these fraudsters, with these money launderers to begin to launder money. Global financial crime fines total $113 billion from 23 regulatory actions during the first half of 2021. Of course, some financial institutions not putting all the necessary measures in place, and at the same time not even training their staff to understand money laundering. Of course, the regulators will have to find some of them and ensure that they put those measures in place. 9,500 of about 11,500 financial non-banking companies registered were anti-money laundering non-compliant by 2018. Casinos, real estate companies, all these non-banking companies are expected to be on that anti-money laundering list. They are supposed to make their own returns when it comes to money laundering. And of course, EFCC has already told us that most of the laundered funds go into what? Real estate. And that's why we see so many properties that are unoccupied. And we are talking here about housing deficit of over 17 to 20 million housing deficit. And recently we heard that was the EFCC seized over 300 houses from civil servants. So we can see all these are laundered money, and they get into the hands of real estate agents of course. So that is why it is advisable as a real estate agent, don't collect cash. How would somebody want to buy a property and the person will be bringing cash? It's a somehow, you know, where we are talking of a cashless society. So if you want to do transactions concerning real estate as a realtor or as an expert in housing, please do not encourage your clients to pay cash. Ensure that there is record so that you know where these funds are coming from. You can have a trace. You know, so if you collect cash, obviously you are conniving with these fraudsters. So money laundering possesses a great threat to national security. Because some person, in fact, I've been in the training where a very highly placed personnel from a financial institution will say, where, because the presenter was saying, once you suspect, you don't need to tell the customer. You just make the reports. And she was thinking that when you make the report, you now return the money back to the customer. No, you are not going to. In fact, that is a problem. So it shows that if somebody at that level that works in the financial institution do not understand and know why you need to make this report to the regulators, then there is a problem. So all she was thinking was cash flow, cash flow. Let money come to the bank, let the money come to the bank, let the money come to the bank. And you are not even interested in looking at the quality of that money. Is it funds that are gotten from illegal activities? We have to train everybody, from the board of directors to the managing director down to the least person in financial and non-financial institutions that are expected to make this money laundering report, because that is the only way we can effectively fight money laundering, because it's a threat to our global economy and to Nigerian economy in particular. So because of the associated, the cost associated with battling money laundering through increased anti-money laundering expenditure, because you just have to train your workers. In fact, in some financial institutions, they even have a software that can detect illegal funds, such as the acquisition of anti-money laundering software. Financial institutions' profitability is jeopardized. If you have done your transaction and at the end you said you have made a profit, and if eventually you now have a case of money laundering and your bank has been associated with that transaction, of course the regulators now fine you. That will be telling on your bottom line. And also reputation. That reputation at this financial institution is known for this kind of illegal activity. And of course, that will make investors want to leave that company. And of course, customers too will also want to leave. So we must ensure that the fight against money laundering as a financial crime is a fight for everybody in the financial system. So at the same time, legislating, they have tried their best. They enact laws, rules that will ensure that we take care of money laundering activities. So Nigeria should be at the front in terms of catching money launderers. So banks have started realizing the fact that their legacy rule-based system cannot effectively mitigate risks related to money laundering. So now they need to embrace advanced technology that can effectively solve their problem. Financial institutions can effectively make use of solution-based machine learning. Of course, this is using technology to kind of solve money laundering problem based on machine learning, such as AML suits to counter money laundering attempts. So Training and retraining of staff is key when it comes to money laundering. And of course, your board of directors should also be aware of their own role they can play in terms of money laundering. Now, we can see that this money laundering, you might just think, okay, is it not they just bring the money to the system and all that? They can also be funding terrorism. And you know, insurgency is a big problem in the world today, not only in Nigeria, the world in general. We are fighting terrorist financing. And so if you don't play your own part, because these money launderers are not spirits, these are day-to-day persons who even work in financial institutions, who even do legitimate business, but because they provide an avenue for these money launderers to launder this fund, then when these funds get to the terrorists, they use it to begin to equip themselves, buy more sophisticated ammunitions, and they continue to maim and kill people. And the world will not be a safe place, even for those bankers that are encouraging money laundering, not putting measures in place to ensure that we detect these cases of money laundering. So we will say money laundering is a fight for everybody. All the methods that are being used by these money launderers, we should, as professionals in the financial service industry, be up to date. Cooperate with law enforcement, because it's a matter of intelligence and it's a matter of ethics, professionalism. Some persons have argued, if as a lawyer, I know that they know that their client is money is doing an illegal business, and of course they will tell you no court of law has proven that that particular client is guilty. So until, but we are not saying, if as a stockbroker I know that this is my client, this is the illegal business he's doing. I cannot prove it, but he's bringing the money to me to buy shares for him. And at the end of the day, if that client is arrested and his funds are traced to my firm, am I not also guilty of aiding and abetting that money laundering? But for legal practitioners, they will tell you they have legal practitioner acts, and they are not ready to disclose what their clients have told them concerning their transaction. Maybe by the time they get to the court of law. Okay? But again, even me as a stockbroker, it does not mean that I will disclose to my client. All I need to do is, if it's a suspicious transaction, it's just to make the report. And you are warned, let your staff also buy into your values, so that they don't want to tip the customer. That's called tipping. When you tip them, that is, they are aware that you have made this report, so they stop, they won't come again. They won't come again. And if they are coming, they will kind of do what we call smurfing, structuring. Instead of bringing 500 or 1 million at a go, they distribute the money and they use different funds to even still go and pay the money into a bank, and of course it will definitely come to your firm for you to do the transaction. So we should be aware of the different methods that they use to ensure that the illegal funds that they have gotten, maybe as a result of kidnapping, as a result of trafficking, as a result of prostitution, as a result of economic crime, they are now trying, because they want to relax and spend the money, they are now bringing it to the financial system. They want to, first of all, place the money, layer it, then integrate the money to the financial system, where you cannot trace the funds that you are saying now to the crime they have committed. It now appears as if it is a legitimate transaction, and we've seen the effects on the economy of that country. It will not encourage creativity, it will not encourage innovation, it will not encourage real development in that country's economy. And the financial system is supposed to be an avenue where funds are mobilized, creation of capital for productive ventures, so that more legitimate businesses can strive, increase their capacity, create employment, create jobs, and the financial system will work in the way it is supposed to work. So financial money laundering is a very good example of financial crime that not only law enforcement agents, that's the EFCC, can fight. We know it is their mandate, but we need to give them all the technical support, cooperation that they need. Recently, I saw in the news where SEC in Nigeria was running a training program for operatives of EFCC. That is a very good development. We need to see more of this collaboration. I'm also aware that the NGS Group PLC also has a standing MOU with EFCC in terms of collaboration, training, because we know that the self-regulatory organization cannot prosecute some of these cases. They will do their best in terms of investigation and surveillance. Of course, they will be looking at some administrative infractions here and there. You didn't submit your financials on time. You didn't do this. These are just basic regulatory issues. But in that process of doing that, they also come across, that is those in the investigating unit, they now come across criminal elements. What would they do? They refer to EFCC, who will now take up that case. Imagine a case where the operative of EFCC do not understand the basis of this transaction. Then they just come in and they are trying to investigate, and before you know what, there is no case. So that is why that MOU that the NGS Group has signed with EFCC is the right step in the right direction, and we are seeing some of the collaboration, and you can see, and I can authoritatively tell you that, especially in the capital market, we are seeing a reduction in cases of financial crime. We are not saying you can reduce it 100%, but we are seeing a reduction in the incidences of financial crime that we experience in the capital market. Also, I must give kudos to the operators, because they've all seen that it is better for us to have a safe, efficient financial system, because if it collapses, it will affect everybody, not just some few people. Everybody is going to be affected, because we are talking of investors' confidence. So foreign investors must see that our market is fair, transparent, and once we have those incidences of financial crime in our market, there are rules and regulations to nip them at the bud and ensure that the culprits, if they are found guilty, they are taken care of. And we are seeing so many of the cases that have been concluded with EFCC. So I must commend the operators in the capital market for that bold step to ensure that they put measures in place. That is the essence of what we call the minimum operating standard, the quality of the personnel, the quality of control. They have almost about 3 levels of control. You have the risk control, you have the compliance, and of course, you still also have the audits. So you can see that all this is put in place to ensure that proper internal control. Most of these stockbroking firms or trading license holders now have it in place, and it becomes much more difficult for crime to be committed in these stockbroking firms. And that is not possible, or that would not be possible, if the management and the owners of those firms do not buy into the values of the regulators. So you can see it's a collaboration between the operators, the collaborators, and also doing enlightenment for investors, so that some investors too will be aware of some of these practices that could be financial crime, because they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Charles. That wraps up the Investor Education Series. We'll go for a short break and when we come back, Entrepreneurship segment on Uniform Business Radio.